So this is really kind of an interesting story because when I look at the ongoing situation between the owner and a lot of these former employees with the Suns and some of the current ones, the main guy that I'm really sensing had a major issue with the owner was Earl Watson. Now he's a former head coach of the Suns. He was the head coach for about a year and a half during like the middle of the 2010s. These two did not get along in any way, shape, or form. They just did not see eye to eye, and it was a tumultuous business relationship that ended fairly quickly. Now, when it comes to some of the, I guess, kind of the lower tier or the lower level employees within the organization, um, there's some smoke there as far as, were there some things said that he could have said that were inappropriate? Yeah, I don't necessarily deny that just based off of the report. But the thing is, a lot of these statements are like secondhand comments. You heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody else. They're not like direct anecdotes. It's a lot of like passing comments. And the only one I could really say in particular that really, I guess, made a stir of this whole thing was the Suns' former head coach in Earl Watson. That was really the one where he really focuses on going after Robert Sarver. Now, when I look at the current situation that the Suns organization has, I don't get the sense that it's this toxic work environment that some of these former employees have been saying it is. Because had there been any sort of toxic relationship that had been known at this point, it would have already been said from either Monty Williams, Chris Paul, James Jones, or
Devin Booker, somebody.
yeah, like somebody would have said something by now had the owner been that big of an issue. And I mean, Kevin, they just went to the finals last year as far as the Suns go. And I never heard a mention of Monty Williams ever calling out the owner as far as anything bad that he did. In fact, Monty Williams was somebody that had high remarks for Robert Sarver, saying that one of the reasons that he signed on to be the head coach of the Phoenix Suns instead of other teams was that he thought that the relationship that he was able to establish with Robert Sarver was really good. And it's been somewhat, or actually I shouldn't even say somewhat, it has been a pretty solid working business relationship since Monty Williams got the job as the head coach of the team. And, and Robert definitely is calling out the story as just outright false. He's saying that a lot of this is just out of context, that a lot of these stories, they're just flat out not true, or they're just missing context entirely. And, the NBA is conducting their investigation. Obviously, that will take some time to kind of sift through all the information. I imagine they'll be getting statements. And, even with that said, though, a lot of these employees that are bringing up these remarks as far as calling out the owner for being a racist, being a misogynist, and being a sexist, I'm like, they never addressed it with anybody in the NBA. The NBA is investigating this for the first time now. And these issues were taking place, in some cases, over a decade ago. So it kind of tells me, it's like, why is all this stuff coming out now? Like, what's the point of doing it right now? Like, they had all that time to address that to somebody in the NBA. And even within the NBA's organizational standpoint, from their standpoint, they've never received any sort of complaints from Phoenix. They never, over that entire timeline, they never really heard a peep from Phoenix. Now, could you say that, the owner was suppressing what they were claiming as criticisms or complaints? Yeah, you could make that case, I guess. But, by and large, when I look at this story, I'm kind of taking the Monty Williams position. And that's basically let the investigation play out for itself. And we'll kind of see where it goes from here. And I really do think that, in my mind, it's too early to jump to conclusions. ESPN came out with the article. The owner has already hired legal representation. So it tells me that he's not backing down from the situation whatsoever. He's actually, he's really attacking this head on, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there. I take into account what these people have said. as far as what his conduct was. And I've also taken into account what he said. Because this is a situation where, to be quite honest with you, I think a lot of people will jump to conclusions, yeah, this guy's guilty. This guy's a racist. This guy's a misogynist. This guy's a sexist, without even reading any of the article whatsoever. They'll just look at the headline and they'll say, oh yeah, his ass is grass. This guy's a racist. He needs to get out of the league. He needs to sell the team. And it's a tire fire in Phoenix. I think to those people, they really need to kind of like reassess this situation. They got to actually read the article so they get a full context, or at least get somewhat of a context, before you just read a headline and just kind of assume where it's going to go. But no, like, it's a big story. There's no doubt about that. It just kind of sucks because Phoenix is a really good team, and now they got to be embroiled in this story moving forward. But, you know, honestly, I think Monty Williams is like the right coach to kind of lead these guys through all the headlines and stuff, and the media aspect of it. So I'm not worried about the Suns as a team. I think they'll be able to work through this fine, but, you know, it's definitely a story to monitor, and we will.